My husband's family planned a holiday trip and forgot to tell me about it. I never meant to snoop. That's what cheaters say, right? But honestly, I wasn't looking for anything when I opened our shared email that Tuesday morning. Derek and I had used the same account for household stuff since we got married 8 months ago. Bills, Amazon orders, those endless promotional emails neither of us bothered to unsubscribe from. The apartment felt too quiet with him gone. 3 days into his week-long business trip, and I was already talking to myself, leaving the TV on just to hear voices. Pathetic, maybe, but being newly married and already spending so much time apart wasn't what I'd pictured. I sipped my coffee and clicked through the inbox, deleting spam, archiving payment confirmations. That's when I saw it, the email that would shatter everything. Your paradise awaits. Honeymoon suite confirmation, Santorini Azure Resort and Spa. I frowned. We hadn't booked our honeymoon yet. Derek kept postponing it, citing work obligations, budget concerns, timing issues. Always something. Just last week he'd apologized again, promising we'd go soon while packing for this tech summit in Boston. Except, this confirmation showed the reservation was active.
Right now.
In Santorini, not Boston. That's odd, I muttered, clicking the email. Maybe it was a phishing scam, but the reservation was legitimate. Prepaid in full, 5-star accommodations, champagne package included. The guest name made my stomach drop. Derek Whitman. My husband. My fingers hovered over the trackpad. There was a link to the resort's live feed, a marketing gimmick showing the breathtaking views guests currently enjoyed. Before I could think twice, I clicked it. The website loaded to reveal the infinity pool overlooking the Aegean Sea, white buildings nestled against volcanic cliffs, exactly like those desktop backgrounds everyone uses. Postcard perfect. I scrolled through more photos, my coffee growing cold beside me. Then I saw it. A couple posed on a private balcony, their faces slightly blurred by distance, but still recognizable. The man was unmistakably Derek, my husband, his arm wrapped around a woman who definitely wasn't me. I zoomed in, my hands trembling now. The woman turned slightly in the next frame, and I caught her profile. Long dark hair, elegant nose, that distinctive smile. Recognition hit me like a physical blow. Marissa, Derek's ex-girlfriend. The one he'd dated for 5 years before me. The one his mother still accidentally tagged in family photos sometimes. The one who was just a family friend now, according to Derek's many reassurances. I grabbed my phone and pulled up Instagram. Marissa's account was private. She'd blocked me months ago after I'd confronted Derek about their late-night texting, but her location tag was public. Santorini, Greece. Posted yesterday. No, I whispered, but the evidence was impossible to deny. No, no, no. I paced our apartment, the one we'd chosen together, filled with wedding gifts we'd barely used. Had this been his plan all along? Was our entire marriage just some bizarre intermission in his real relationship? My phone buzzed with a text from Derek, day 3 of boring presentations. Miss you. How's everything at home? I stared at the message, ball rising in my throat. He wasn't even trying to hide his tracks well. Who goes to Greece for a tech summit? Who books the honeymoon suite for a business trip? Instead of responding, I went to our home office and opened his laptop. He'd always trusted me with his password, or so I thought. A trust built on my supposed inability to find anything worth hiding. His email confirmed everything. Flights to Santorini, not Boston. Conversations with Marissa planning their getaway. But what made my blood run cold were the emails with his mother, his sister, his entire family. She doesn't need to know. It's better this way. Marissa is so excited to see everyone, just like old times. Don't worry about Emma. She'll believe whatever you tell her.
Emma.
That's me. The gullible wife. The outsider. The one they never wanted him to marry. I'd always felt their cold judgment. The sidelong glances at family gatherings. The inside jokes I wasn't privy to. The way conversations stopped when I entered rooms. But I'd convinced myself it was just new family awkwardness, something time would smooth over. How wrong I'd been. I opened a folder labeled Work Presentations and found dozens of photos, Derek and Marissa from years ago. Recent ones too. Dinners, weekends, holidays I thought he'd spent at conferences. Their entire relationship documented in a folder he didn't even bother to hide properly. My wedding ring felt suddenly heavy, constricting. I slid it off and placed it on his desk, next to the framed photo of us on our wedding day. Everyone was smiling in that picture. Fake smiles, I realize now. They'd all known this was temporary. The apartment phone rang, startling me. Derek's mother. I let it go to voicemail. Emma, dear. Her voice dripped with false sweetness. Just checking in since Derek's away. We should have lunch soon. Call me back. Another lie. She knew exactly where her son was and who he was with. I sat there, surrounded by evidence of my husband's betrayal, and realized the most painful part wasn't even that he was cheating. It was the conspiracy, the coordinated deception by an entire family who'd welcomed me with hugs while plotting behind my back. For a moment, I considered calling my mother, my friends, anyone. But shame kept my finger from dialing. How could I admit I'd been so thoroughly fooled? That the man I married had been planning to abandon me with his family's enthusiastic support?
No.
This required something different than tears and frantic phone calls. I looked again at the resort website, at the pristine waters and sunset views, at my husband and his ex living the honeymoon that should have been ours. That's when I decided, if they wanted a family vacation so badly, they should have one to remember. And I knew exactly how to make it unforgettable. I opened my laptop and started booking my own trip to Santorini. 5 days ago, I'd stood in this same apartment, watching Derek pack his business casual clothes for what he claimed was the most important tech summit of the year. I remember it so clearly now, how he folded each shirt with precise creases, the way he kissed my forehead and promised to call every night. I hate leaving you again, he'd said, zipping his suitcase. Especially when we still haven't taken our honeymoon. I'd smiled, believing him. It's okay. Your career is important. I'll make it up to you, he'd promised. As soon as this quarter closes, we'll go somewhere amazing. Anywhere you want. Anywhere I wanted. Meanwhile, he already had tickets to Santorini with his ex-girlfriend. I sat cross-legged on our bed now, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal. His laptop open beside me. I methodically combed through everything. This wasn't just about one trip. This was about uncovering the extent of his lies. I started with his calendar, the fake tech summit dates perfectly blocked off. He'd even added fictional session names, Blockchain Integration Workshop and Future of Cloud Computing Panel. Such attention to detail for something that didn't exist. Next, his search history. Cleared, of course, but he'd forgotten about the family iPad we shared. There, I found searches for best sunset restaurants in Santorini and private beaches Aegean Sea. He'd been planning this for months. While I was researching fertility clinics because we'd been trying for a baby, my husband was researching romantic getaways with another woman. The credit card statements told another story entirely. Jewelry purchases from stores I'd never received gifts from. Weekend hotel stays in nearby cities during work conferences. Dinner for two at restaurants too intimate for business meetings. A separate pattern of spending that outlined a parallel life. My phone buzzed. Derek's nightly check-in text. Long day of meetings. About to grab dinner with the team. How was your day? I took a deep breath and played along. Pretty quiet. Just caught up on some Netflix. Miss you. His response came quickly, miss you too. Don't wait up. We might be out late strategizing. Strategizing.
Right.
I opened our Photos app, scrolling through memories that now felt tainted. There was our wedding day, Derek beaming at the camera while his mother stood stiffly beside me. I'd attributed her coldness to wedding stress. Now I understood she was merely tolerating the ceremony, biding her time until her son returned to the woman she actually approved of. Behind those smiling wedding photos lurked a folder I'd never noticed before, hidden inside his work documents. Password protected, but I knew all his passwords now. Inside, years of photos with Marissa, holidays, family gatherings, and most recently, lingerie shots she'd sent him just last month. My stomach churned, but there was something else, a document titled Trust Discussion. I opened it, and the betrayal deepened beyond anything I'd imagined. It was an email chain between Derek and his father's estate attorney, discussing how to protect the family's assets, given the current marital situation. They were hiding money from me, restructuring the family trust to exclude me even while Derek smiled and talked about our future children. The email was dated 3 weeks after our wedding. I'd married into a family of actors, all playing their roles perfectly, while the script called for my eventual removal. The question was, why bother with the marriage at all? Then I found the answer, buried in Derek's work emails. His father's company, where Derek was heir apparent, had been courting a major client, a conservative family business that valued traditional stability in their partners. Derek had needed a wife on paper to close the deal. The timing matched perfectly. He'd proposed right when negotiations began. I was a business transaction, a temporary prop. Outside, rain began to patter against the windows, matching my darkening mood. I'd fallen in love with Derek because he seemed different from other men I'd dated, attentive, focused on building a future, never playing games. What a joke. He'd been playing the longest game of all. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found his sister Vanessa's number. We'd never been close. She'd always maintained a polite distance, but now I understood why. She'd been part of this charade from the beginning. Without overthinking it, I called her. Emma? She sounded surprised. Is everything okay? Just checking in. I kept my voice light, casual. I'm so bored with Derek gone. What are you up to this week? Oh, you know, the usual. Work, gym, Netflix. Her lie flowed effortlessly. No vacation plans? I pushed, my heart pounding. A slight pause. No, nothing special. I could hear voices in the background, dishes clinking. She was at a restaurant, probably in Santorini, with the rest of them. That's strange, I said, still maintaining my innocent tone. I could have sworn Derek mentioned the family was doing something together soon. Another pause, longer this time. Well, Mom was talking about maybe doing Christmas in Aspen this year, but nothing's planned yet.
Got it, I said.
Hey, quick question. Do you know if Derek and Marissa ever went to Greece together? I'm planning a surprise trip and don't want to duplicate somewhere he's been. The sharp intake of breath told me everything. I don't really remember their trips. It was a long time ago. Right? I said. Of course. Emma, listen. Her voice dropped to a whisper. It's better this way, you know. She's more their kind. There it was. The admission. Their kind. I repeated. I should go. My food just arrived, she said quickly. Let's have coffee when Derek gets back. She hung up, but her words echoed in my mind. Their kind. Not my kind. Never my kind. I sat in the growing darkness of our apartment, surrounded by the evidence of my husband's double life, and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him over the phone. I wasn't going to be waiting tearfully when he returned with more lies about his business trip. I reached for my laptop and opened the airline website. Two could play this game. I needed to be strategic. Rushing to Santorini in a blind rage would only give Derek's family the satisfaction of seeing me as the unstable, emotional outsider they already thought I was. Instead, I needed more information, confirmation of what I already suspected but couldn't quite believe. The next morning, I texted Vanessa, "Coffee today? Need wedding photo help for Derek's birthday surprise." Her response came surprisingly fast, sure. Noon at Maple Brew? Perfect. Vanessa had always been the weakest link in the Whitman family chain, not because she was kind to me, but because she was terrible at hiding her disdain. Where Derek's mother masked her contempt behind brittle smiles and his father barely acknowledged my existence, Vanessa wore her disapproval like an accessory. In a twisted way, I respected her honesty. I arrived at the coffee shop 20 minutes early and chose a corner table with my back to the wall. Strategic positioning. I could see her face clearly, and no one could overhear us. I ordered a latte. I had no intention of drinking and waited, scrolling through my phone as if nothing in my world had imploded. Vanessa walked in at 12:05, designer sunglasses perched on her head, looking slightly flushed. She'd clearly rushed from somewhere or someone. The Bluetooth earpiece she normally wore was missing. "Emma," she nodded, settling into the chair across from me. "You look different."
"Do I?"
I smiled. Amazing what discovering your entire marriage is a sham can do for your appearance. "What's this about wedding photos?" She flagged down a barista without making eye contact. "I found something interesting yesterday," I said casually. "Not wedding photos, exactly." Her perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose slightly.
"Oh."
I slid my phone across the table, open to a screenshot of Derek and Marissa at the Santorini resort. I'd cropped it carefully, showing only their clasped hands on a white stone railing, the distinctive blue domes visible in the background. Vanessa stared at it, her face impressively blank. "What am I looking at?" "I think you know exactly what you're looking at," I replied, my voice steady. "The real question is why none of you thought I deserved to know my husband is on a romantic getaway with his ex." She handed the phone back, her French manicured fingers trembling slightly. "You're mistaken."
"Am I?"
Because between the resort confirmation email, Derek's hidden photo folder, and your little slip yesterday about Marissa being more their kind, I don't think I'm mistaken at all. The barista brought her cappuccino. Vanessa took a long sip, clearly buying time. "Emma," she finally said, setting down the cup with exaggerated care. "Marriage is complicated." "Not really," I countered. "Fidelity is pretty straightforward. So is honesty." "Look," she leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Derek has obligations. To the family. To the business. You were never going to fit into that world." "Because I'm not your kind," I repeated her words back to her. Something like guilt flashed across her face. "That came out wrong yesterday." "Did it? Or was it the only honest thing you've said to me since I met your family?" Vanessa sighed, a sound of genuine exhaustion. "What do you want, Emma? Money? A scene? Your 15 minutes." The question stunned me. She thought I was here for a payoff, as if my broken heart could be settled like a lawsuit. "I want the truth," I said. "All of it. Starting with how long this has been going on." She drummed her manicured nails against the table, apparently calculating the risks of honesty versus continued deception. Something in my expression must have convinced her that lying would only make things worse. "They never broke up," she finally said. "Not really." The words hit me like physical blows. "What do you mean, not really?" "They took a break when her father got sick. Marissa needed to focus on family. Then the Harrison account came up, you know, the super religious family business Dad's been chasing for years. They wouldn't partner with a company unless its leadership had family values." She made air quotes around the phrase. "So I was just what? A business strategy." The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too hot. Derek needed a wife. Temporarily. She at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. The plan was to close the deal, wait a respectable amount of time, then divorce amicably. You'd get a generous settlement. "How generous of you all," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "And this trip to Santorini? It's not just a trip. It's an engagement party." Vanessa looked down at her cappuccino. "Mom planned it. The whole family's there, plus some key business associates. They're announcing it tomorrow night." The room tilted slightly. "He's still married to me, on paper. The divorce papers are being drawn up. Dad's lawyer already has them ready." She reached across the table as if to touch my hand, then thought better of it. "You weren't supposed to find out this way. Derek was going to tell you when he got back." "How considerate." "It's not personal, Emma. Marissa's family has connections we need. Her father's shipping company, her uncle's position. It's about securing the Whitman legacy." "And what about my legacy?" I asked. "My wasted years? My plans for a family that was never going to happen." "You're young," she said dismissively. "Pretty enough. You'll bounce back." The casual cruelty nearly took my breath away. In that moment, I understood that the Whitmans weren't just dishonest. They were genuinely incapable of seeing people outside their circle as fully human. We were props in their life story, disposable when no longer useful. "The trip was Mom's idea," Vanessa continued, apparently mistaking my silence for acceptance. "She never thought you and Derek would last, So she kept the resort deposit from when he and Marissa were originally engaged. Called it her insurance policy. That detail, the premeditated nature of it all, crystallized something inside me. This wasn't just Derek's betrayal. It was a family conspiracy. "Thank you for your honesty," I said, standing up. "It's been illuminating." "Emma..." Vanessa looked suddenly alarmed. "What are you going to do?" I smiled, a genuine smile that seemed to unnerve her more than anger would have. "I'm going to pack," I said simply. "For Santorini." I called Lily the moment I left the coffee shop. If anyone could help me pull this off, it would be my best friend since college, the same friend who'd warned me about Derek's too-perfect demeanor when we first started dating. They did what? Her voice exploded through my phone as I explained everything. "I need to get to Santorini," I said, weaving through pedestrians on the busy sidewalk. "Tonight, if possible." Emma slowed down. "Are you sure confronting them is the best idea? Wouldn't it be better to change the locks, get a shark lawyer, and take half of everything?" I stopped walking. "This isn't just about money, Lily. They humiliated me. They planned this, all of them. I want them to see me. I want them to know that I know." A beat of silence. Then, "Okay, what's the plan?" 2 hours later, I was in Lily's apartment, surrounded by open suitcases and her extensive collection of designer sunglasses and wigs, remnants from her years working in film production. "The key is to be unrecognizable from a distance, but not suspicious up close," she explained, holding up a sleek black bob wig against my naturally blonde hair. "You need to be able to observe them before the big reveal." I nodded, mentally calculating angles and timing. Derek's family had chosen the most photogenic island in Greece for their betrayal party, and I was going to make sure every moment was captured in perfect clarity. While Lily helped me transform my appearance, I made 3 crucial calls. First, to a private investigator who owed Lily a favor. He agreed to compile a complete dossier on Derek and Marissa's relationship timeline, including any overlaps with our marriage. Second, to my bank, where I transferred my personal savings into an account Derek couldn't access. The customer service representative sounded concerned when I explained I needed to protect my assets immediately, but I assured her everything was fine. A white lie that felt insignificant compared to the elaborate deception I'd been living in. Third, and most importantly, to a local photographer in Santorini, Nikolaos, who specialized in destination weddings. For a premium price, he agreed to my unusual request, documenting my husband and his ex in their romantic moments around the island, without their knowledge. Legal in public spaces, he assured me. Perfect for divorce proceedings and other purposes. "Are you sure about this part?" Lily asked as I confirmed the booking. "It seems a bit calculated." "They calculated every moment of my marriage," I replied, trying on a pair of oversized sunglasses. "I'm just returning the favor." By evening, I had secured the last first-class seat on an overnight flight to Athens, with a morning connection to Santorini. The reservation was under my maiden name, Emma Lawrence, a person who had almost disappeared during 8 months of being Mrs. Whitman. While packing, I received a text from Derek. "Miss you. Another long day of presentations tomorrow. How's everything at home?" I stared at my phone, tempted to ignore it, but that might raise suspicions. Instead, I typed, "All good here. Just having dinner with Lily. Missing you too." His response came quickly. "Tell her I said hi. Getting back to the hotel now, exhausted. Talk tomorrow?" I smiled grimly at the precision of his lies. The time difference, the fabricated fatigue, the casual inclusion of Lily to make it all seem natural. I wondered which parts of our entire relationship had been genuine, if any. "What if they see your credit card charges?" Lily asked as we finalized the details. I held up the new debit card linked to my separate account. "Already thought of that. Plus, I'm paying the photographer in cash. Derek doesn't know about the money my grandmother left me." "You've thought of everything," Lily said, sounding both impressed and concerned. Had I? The tactical aspects were covered, but emotionally, I wasn't sure what would happen when I came face to face with Derek and his family. With Marissa, would I break down? Freeze up? Lose the cold determination currently propelling me forward? What about after? Lily asked quietly. After you confront them, then what? It was the question I'd been avoiding. My entire focus had been on exposing their betrayal, not on what my life would look like afterward. No husband, no in-laws, no carefully planned future. I don't know, I admitted, but I can't think about that now. Lily hugged me tightly. I can come with you. I can rearrange some things. No, I shook my head. I need to do this alone. That night, as I tried to sleep before my early flight, I scrolled through my wedding photos one last time. There we were, cutting the cake, Derek looking at me with what I'd believed was love. His mother raising a champagne glass and a toast, while mentally calculating how long the marriage needed to last for business purposes. I deleted the entire album. The next morning at the airport, I barely recognized myself in the reflection of the first-class lounge windows. Dark bob wig, oversized sunglasses, tailored clothes in a style Emma Whitman would never wear. I looked like a woman with secrets, with purpose. My phone buzzed with an email confirmation. Nikolaos would meet me at the Santorini ferry terminal with all his equipment ready. He'd already done preliminary reconnaissance at the Azure Resort and confirmed the Whitman family's locations, including the sunset engagement party scheduled for tomorrow evening at the Infinity Pool.
Perfect.
That would be my stage. As I boarded the plane, I received one final text from Derek, heading into an all-day workshop. Probably won't be able to text until tonight. Love you. I typed back for the last time. Love you too. Good luck with your presentation. Then I turned off my phone, settled into my seat, and watched the clouds pass below as we flew east, toward the confrontation I'd never expected to have, on an island I'd never expected to visit, to end a marriage that had never truly existed. Santorini was exactly like the postcards. Whitewashed buildings cascading down volcanic cliffs, the deep blue Aegean stretching endlessly beneath a cloudless sky. Under different circumstances, I might have been breathless with wonder. Instead, I felt a strange, detached calm as Nikolaos drove me from the ferry terminal to my hotel, deliberately chosen on the opposite side of the island from the Azure Resort. I have everything you requested, Nikolaos said, passing me an envelope. His English carried a melodic Greek accent. 3 days of surveillance. Your husband and his companion have been quite visible around the island. I flipped through the photos. Derek and Marissa holding hands at sunset, feeding each other at a seaside restaurant, kissing on a chartered boat. His mother, father, and sister appeared in several shots, along with faces I recognized as business associates. One photo showed them all raising glasses in a toast, their expressions radiating genuine joy. The engagement party is scheduled for tonight at 8, Nikolaos continued. The resort has transformed the Infinity Pool area with flowers, lights, a string quartet. Very romantic. Perfect, I said, sliding the photos back into the envelope. And you'll be there? He nodded. Hidden, as discussed. I will capture everything. At my hotel, a small, family-run place where nobody asked questions, I spent hours preparing. I abandoned the wig. It had served its purpose during travel, but for tonight, I wanted Derek to recognize me instantly. Instead, I styled my blonde hair into an elegant updo I'd never worn before. The dress I chose was midnight blue, backless, utterly unlike anything in my usual wardrobe. Emma Whitman favored casual comfort. Tonight's Emma was weaponized glamour. As I applied my makeup, I rehearsed what I would say. So many options, from quiet dignity to righteous fury. In the end, I decided the evidence should speak for itself. I loaded the most damning screenshots and photographs onto my phone, organized for maximum impact. At 7:30, Nikolaos texted that the party was beginning. Guests were arriving, champagne flowing. Derek's mother was arranging people for a group photo. Marissa was wearing white.
White.
As if she were the bride. My hands trembled slightly as I gathered my clutch, room key, and determination. The resort was a 10-minute taxi ride away. I asked the driver to drop me a short distance from the entrance, then walked the remaining path along the cliffside, the setting sun casting everything in gold. At the reception desk, I simply said I was joining the Whitman party. The staff smiled and directed me to the infinity pool terrace, no questions asked. I could hear the party before I saw it. Laughter, glasses clinking, a violin playing something classical and romantic. I paused in the shadows of a flowering bougainvillea, taking one last moment to breathe. To be the woman I was before Derek Whitman turned my life into a calculated business transaction. Then I stepped into the light. The terrace fell silent in sections, like a wave of quiet spreading from the entrance. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Glasses froze halfway to lips. Derek's back was to me, his arm around Marissa's waist as they gazed out at the Aegean sunset, apparently sharing some private joke. His sister Vanessa saw me first. Her champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering on the stone tiles. The sound made Derek turn. The color drained from his face so rapidly I thought he might faint. "Emma?" Marissa looked confused, then horrified as understanding dawned. She stepped away from Derek as if he'd suddenly caught fire. "Surprised to see me?" I asked, my voice carrying clearly across the now silent terrace. I walked forward, heels clicking rhythmically on the stone. I wouldn't want to miss the family vacation, especially one that's been so carefully planned. Derek's mother made a strangled sound, clutching her husband's arm. Several business associates were glancing between us, clearly sensing the unfolding drama. "Emma." Derek stepped toward me, hands raised placatingly. "I can explain." "Can you?" "That would be fascinating to hear." I smiled and turned to address the gathered crowd. "For those who don't know me, I'm Emma Whitman, Derek's wife. His current wife, to be precise." Gasps rippled through the group. Someone whispered, "I thought they were divorced." "Not divorced," I clarified. "Not separated. Not even discussing problems. In fact, Derek told me he was at a tech summit in Boston." I glanced at my watch. He's probably giving a presentation on blockchain right now. Or at least, that's what his calendar says. Derek lunged forward, grabbing my elbow. "Emma, please. Let's talk privately." I shook him off and pulled out my phone. "Let's share with everyone instead. I've collected some interesting reading material." I began reading the texts aloud. Derek to Marissa, planning their rendezvous while I believed he was working late. Derek to his mother, discussing how to keep me in the dark. Derek to his father's lawyer, strategizing the divorce timeline to minimize my financial claims. With each revelation, Derek seemed to physically shrink. Marissa's perfect makeup couldn't hide her mortification. And the business associates, those conservative, family values clients the Whitmans had been so eager to impress, were exchanging glances of undisguised disgust. And my personal favorite, I continued, opening the final screenshot. Derek to his sister. "Emma doesn't suspect a thing. She's too trusting. Almost makes me feel bad." I looked directly at him. Almost. The infinity pool lights switched on automatically as dusk deepened, casting an ethereal blue glow across shocked faces. Someone's phone camera flashed, then another and another. This wasn't just a confrontation anymore. It was becoming a social media disaster. "You've ruined everything," Derek's mother hissed, finally finding her voice. I turned to her, surprisingly calm. "No. You did that when you decided your son should marry someone for business, then discard her when convenient. When you kept your resort deposit as an insurance policy because you never intended our marriage to last." The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Derek made one last desperate attempt. "Emma, baby, please, we can fix this. Let me explain everything." I looked at my husband, this stranger I'd pledged my life to, and felt nothing but pity. "There's nothing to fix, Derek. But there is something I want to toast." I picked up an abandoned champagne flute from a nearby table and raised a high. "To the Whitman family values. May they serve you, as well as they've served me." The aftermath was both swift and messy. By midnight, the infinity pool party had disintegrated into chaos, business associates making hurried excuses to leave, Derek's father having what looked like a heated argument with their lawyer on the phone, Marissa nowhere to be seen. I had disappeared before security could escort me out, slipping away with Nikolaus, who had captured every excruciating moment on camera. "What now?" he asked as we walked along the cliffside path away from the resort. I looked up at the stars scattered across the Aegean sky. "Now I sleep. Tomorrow is another day." Back at my small hotel, I turned off my phone, wrapped myself in a blanket on the balcony, and watched the moon's reflection dance on the water. The adrenaline crash left me empty, but strangely peaceful. For the first time in months, maybe years, I was existing without the exhausting work of trying to be someone the Whitmans would accept. I slept dreamlessly that night. The next morning brought the digital explosion. Apparently, one of the business associates' wives had recorded my entire speech and posted it online with a caption, "When the side chick is actually the wife, #Santorini Showdown." It had gone viral overnight, spawning hashtags, memes, and think pieces about modern marriage and infidelity. Derek had called 17 times, his sister twice, his mother once. There were also 3 voicemails from his father's lawyer, each more conciliatory than the last. I deleted them all without listening. Instead, I called my own lawyer, a shark in heels whom Lily had recommended the day I left for Greece. "The video works in our favor," she said briskly. "The Whitmans will want to settle quickly to minimize publicity. I'm thinking we should ask for—" "I don't want their money," I interrupted. "Excuse me? I mean, I want what's legally mine from the marriage, but I don't want hush money. I don't want to sign NDAs. I want this to be clean and fast." "Are you sure? We have significant leverage here." I watched a ferry cut through the blue waters below my balcony. "I'm sure. I want my freedom more than I want their money." 2 days later, preliminary divorce papers arrived via email. The Whitmans were offering a surprisingly generous settlement with minimal strings attached, just a mutual non-disparagement clause that still allowed me to reference events that have already been made public. Derek's father had apparently suffered a minor heart attack after the engagement party disaster. He would recover, and the conservative business client had pulled out of their deal entirely, citing incompatibility with our corporate values. The Whitman empire was taking hits from all sides. A small part of me felt vindicated, but mostly I felt nothing. The anger that had propelled me across an ocean was subsiding, leaving room for something softer, more contemplative. On my 4th day in Santorini, I received a text from Marissa. "I didn't know you were still married." He told me it was finalized months ago.
I'm sorry.
I believed her, strangely enough. We were both pawns in different ways. I didn't respond, but I didn't block her either. Derek's attempts at contact grew increasingly desperate, then suddenly stopped altogether. Lily called to let me know he'd been photographed leaving their family attorney's office looking completely wrecked. The Whitman hotel stock had dropped 15 points. Their board was calling emergency meetings. None of it touched me anymore. I had extended my stay in Santorini, moving to a different hotel on the quieter side of the island. I spent my days hiking volcanic trails, swimming in hidden coves, eating meals alone at small tavernas where nobody knew my name or my story. "Is good?" an elderly restaurant owner asked one evening as I finished my solitary dinner overlooking the caldera. "Very good," I replied, meaning more than just the food. He nodded, understanding in his weathered face. "Sometimes we must lose something to find something better, yes?" I stayed in Santorini for 3 weeks, the honeymoon I'd never had, reimagined as something entirely different. A solo journey of rediscovery. By the time I returned home, the divorce was nearly finalized, processed with unusual speed thanks to the Whitmans' eagerness to put the scandal behind them. Derek had moved out of our apartment, leaving behind a handwritten letter I never opened. I sold most of our furniture, donated his abandoned clothes, and repainted the walls colors he would have hated. Deep blues, vibrant yellows, choices made with only my preferences in mind. 6 months after the Santorini showdown, as the media had dubbed it, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment in a different city, watching the sunset with a glass of wine. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "How's the new job? The new life?" I smiled and typed back. Better than I could have imagined. My lawyer had called that morning to inform me the divorce was official. I was no longer Emma Whitman. I was Emma Lawrence again, or rather a new version of her. Stronger, clearer about what she wanted, unwilling to compromise her worth for anyone's approval. That evening, I raised my glass to the sunset, a private toast to the unexpected journey. The Whitmans had planned a family vacation and forgotten to tell me about it. In doing so, they had inadvertently given me the greatest gift, the chance to remember who I was without them. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with the most painful departures. My honeymoon had come after all, not with a husband, but with myself. And as I watched the sky turn from gold to purple to star-studded black, I knew with absolute certainty that I had chosen the better traveling companion.